Hello Battle Cats players, my name is Chance and welcome to my guide. In this episode of our cat breakdown series, we're looking at a fairly divisive cat, I guess, or at the very least one that's certainly slept on quite a bit, even by me myself. Today we're going to be talking about Archer Cat. This rare cat can be unlocked by playing the rare cat capsules and is pretty interesting as far as its history is concerned. In any case, it is my hope that throughout the course of this video and us really exploring everything there is to know about Archer Cat, you can make a more informed decision on how to best use this cat and how far to invest into him if you decide to. Now let's first get started by going over his evolutionary line. Starting with Archer Cat himself, whose description reads, elite ranged cat that can provide useful supporting fire, bruises like a tomato, deals massive damage to floating enemies. Then at level 10 it evolves into Cupid Cat, rains arrows of love upon unsuspecting foes, does not like to get hurt, deals massive damage to floating enemies. Then after achieving level 30, as well as implementing some Catfruit and XP, it becomes Cataur. Once a glittering constellation, this demigod hides from heaven, firing powerful arrows at floating enemies for massive damage. Now then, let's take a look at Archer Cat's overall performance and their pros and cons. First and foremost, Archer Cat is considered to be a mid-ranger, which is any cat unit that has a range of 250 to 399. Under pros, you have decent attack range in normal and evolved form, and long range attack in true form. Under cons, you have low health, single target, and high cost, and low DPS for the normal and evolved. And other factors, it deals massive damage to floating enemies. This effectively means it deals 3 times damage. However, if you have the relevant Catfruits, it becomes 4 times damage. Definitely a very interesting cat in terms of its overall performance. I do actually believe that this is the first long-range-ish DPS cat we've covered. The previous long-range cats have really just been for crowd control more than anything else. And granted, this isn't a true sniper or a true long ranger, it is a mid-ranger, but still, it has pretty impressive range, certainly at its true form. Now then, let's check out some gameplay as well as go over some strategies and use cases. Firstly, as far as cost is concerned, Chapter 1, this cat will cost 820 cents, Chapter 2, 1,230 cents, and Chapter 3, 1,640 cents. As far as actual strategy goes, this is kind of part of the divisive nature of Archer Cat. That being that in its normal and evolved form, it really is essentially useless. Its base stats just aren't really good enough to make the massive damage work, and because of that, it just gets put to shame by virtually every other DPS related cat in the game. And this is the Archer Cat that I remember. It was just kind of a waste of XP, if that makes sense, and I don't think I've ever really seriously considered using it on any of my lineups. So between the low stats, the single target nature, and the fairly low attack rate, it doesn't really hold up well at all. It's kind of like a joke cat. However, much later on, after Archer Cat's initial release, it got its true form, Cataur. Now, Cataur kind of actually makes sense in some cases, and the main thing that makes him so good is just his range. As far as DPS is concerned, he gets outclassed by quite a few cats in the game. Cameraman Cat especially seems to really outclass him. However, against longer range enemies, he can make sense, potentially doing major damage to them or even outright killing them before they have a chance to have their, meat shield units overtake them. What this effectively does is it allows you to get rid of the more difficult backliners before they become problematic. However, as far as the actual DPS of this unit is concerned, there's still a lot that is left to be desired. As far as DPS is actually concerned, against floating enemies, this cat is roughly on par with a higher level King Dragon Cat, which isn't hard to get, of course, because you get them so early in the game and they're fairly easy to invest into. As a result, Cataur's use cases are fairly limited, really shining on stages with longer range enemies. However, I don't think it's good sense to have the team revolve around him just because his base stats still aren't that incredible. But instead to have him fill a supporting DPS role if you have the slots for it, I think makes a fair bit of sense. Now then, let's talk about cat combos. First up, there is the Sound of Wings cat combo. This is a cat cannon recharge up of the small variety. It involves Cupid Cat and Bird Cat. We've actually talked about this before in the Bird Cat video. and it enables the cat cannon to recharge about 5 seconds faster. On certain stages, when paired with certain cannons, this actually might make some sense. Zombie Outbreak stages and Starred Alien stages come to mind, but even then, you're probably better off to rely on cat units versus the actual cannons. Up next, there's Fall in Love. This is a massive damage effect up to the small variety involving Cupid Cat and Madame Bride, and this increases the effectiveness of the massive damage trait by 10%. There are lots of massive damage effect up cat combos in this game, and virtually all of them are 2-cat combos as well. Seeing as how Cupid Cat's base stats don't really stack up that well, I feel like even boosting his massive damage by 10% isn't likely to make a very meaningful difference, so I might point you towards some of the other massive damage effect up cat combos just because they'll typically have more useful cats for them. That being said, if you're on a predominantly floating stage and you need just a little bit more damage, I guess if you don't have any more cat combos you'd rather be using, then sure, although perhaps even just a standard attack up cat combo might make more sense. Granted, I don't know, it's a little bit circumstantial and I'd have to run the math to guarantee whether or not that was the case. Now let's quickly review the cat fruit you're going to need for this cat. Going to need 1 purple seed, which can be obtained every Tuesday, 2 red seeds, which can be obtained every Wednesday, 3 blue seeds, which can be obtained every Thursday, 2 yellow seeds, which can be obtained every Friday, 2 green fruit, which can be obtained every Monday, as well as 200,000 XP. And I'm just going to flash some stat screens pertaining to Archer Cat and his various evolutions. Unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be any trivia currently listed for this cat, which is weird because obviously his normal form is based off of Robin Hood. His evolved form is based off of Cupid, which is a reference to Eros, which as memory serves is the son of Aphrodite. And there's like a bunch of cool stories with him and Apollo in particular, which is cool because that's another Archer kind of reference, you know? And his true form is of course based off of Chiron, which is just kind of awesome. But yeah, for whatever reason, there's nothing listed under his trivia, so I don't know. It's just kind of strange. There are also quite a few cats, like obviously stemming from the Fate collabs, that have Archer in their name as well. In any case, I suppose I'll just take this time to thank everyone for the support so far. I have a sneaking suspicion we'll be hitting over 1,000 subscribers before the end of the month, and I think that'd be awesome. Granted, this channel is still a long way off from being monetized, and I'll talk about that in the next channel review video. But still, thank you everyone so much for supporting the channel up until this point. It definitely means the world and definitely makes making these videos a lot more bearable. Also want to take a moment and thank Bee Eater for the new channel logo, or I guess profile picture design. I totally stole it from him and I am very unapologetic about that. Now then, let's move on to talk about the available talents for Archer Cat. First up, we have a Zombie Killer for a cost of 50 NP, Target Zombie for a cost of 50 NP, Defense and Attack buff, which increase their respective traits by 2% per level up to 20% for a total cost of 75 NP each. Recover Speed Up, which reduces recharge time by 0.5 seconds and improves by 0.17 seconds up to 2 seconds total for a total NP cost of 75. Now, as far as how useful these talents are, because of the firstly spammable nature of Cataur, as well as the fact that his base stats aren't really that good, most of these are kind of worthless. The only two that are really interesting are the Zombie Killer and Target Zombie talents, as this makes this cat fairly usable on zombie stages. Similar to Floating, however, he's not really capable of soloing the DPS on these stages, so you'll still want to pair him up with like a little flying cat or something like that. But because of his range, he is useful against some of the higher range zombies like Cadaver Bear that little flying cat can't really reach. However, bear in mind that zombies are able to burrow into Cataur, and that will effectively make him useless because of his base stats. And that, paired with the fact that he is a single target cat, do make him very circumstantially useful on zombie stages. But still, he's a viable support unit, once again very similar to his role in Floating. As far as the other talents go, they'll make him better technically, and since he's a rare cat, they're not very expensive. So if you want to invest into him for whatever reason, then feel free to do so, but I wouldn't really say it's recommended. I mean, maybe prioritize Recover Speed Up, followed up by Attack buff, because ultimately his stats are just so low that the defense buff won't really make a meaningful enough difference. He also has an Orb slot as well. As far as that Orb slot is concerned, put a massive damage orb in there, either for a zombie or floating, kind of depending on what you're using him most on. Although, I don't know, I feel like giving him an orb might be a little bit copium. It's hard to say for sure. I suppose in the end it depends what cats you have access to, but I like this cat in theory, and I really want to like the true form. If it was area attack, I'd be all over it, but it's not. It's single attack, so I don't know. Now that you know what I think about Archer Cat, let's hear what all of you have to say about him. The guy, 6680, says, one of the most underrated cats in the game. I've used him a little bit on the bear and elephant, and he is one of the best units to bring there, as he can deal with the owls, he can deal with the zombie duck with talents, and can deal with the hyena. Just overall, he's a pretty good cat. I actually kind of agree with this. This stage in particular seems like he really excels well at, really because of his talents. And for that reason, sure, bring him along if the situation calls for it. Up next we have Ars9, who says, he went through an interesting arc in the Battle Cats community where for a long time he was memed on and hated for how weak he was as an anti-floating cat unit. However, with his true form and talents, he has redeemed himself to being a pretty good unit, pretty good anti-zombie and floating mid-ranger. And the community popular Battle Cat YouTuber Lucas IV did a behind the meme video on this cat as an April Fool's joke showcasing Centaur. Or Cataur, I guess, my mistake. Dwayne Ong 9162 says, don't know how OP he is, haven't unlocked him yet, though I have been playing Battle Cats for so long, nearly 1 year. And it's a little strange you haven't unlocked him yet then, just because he is a rare cat, so I don't know, you'll hopefully get him soon. Courier Cat says, best cat in the game. I feel like he's being a little bit facetious, but whatever. Cross/01 says, snappy dresser. I kind of agree with that, certainly in his normal form he is. At I'm Freaking Stupid says, I don't know, I just don't use him. And fair enough, I think you can get through this entire game without using him even once, to be honest with you. And as always, if you would like to be featured in this part of the video, be sure to check out our community tab and comment on the relevant posts there. Now then, that's all I really have to say about Archer Cat. If I missed anything, or there's anything more you would like to add, feel free to do so down beneath in the comments section. As always, thank you so much for listening until this point. Certainly means the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for Cat God's luck on your next gotcha roll. And as always, guys, I'll be talking to you soon.